Welcome to Hidden Power. This is a Pokemon podcast. Today is all about Pokemon Fusion. Pokemon Fusion is a mechanic that has been present in the Pokemon franchise for 25 years. And today we're going to discuss how Pokemon Fusion could be a new battle mechanic introduced as early as Generation 10. Let's get into it. Today I'm joined by the Lumiose Post.
Hello.
And Soul Silver Art. How you guys doing?
What's up? Doing great.
I want to ask you guys first, Pokemon has been introducing a lot of gimmicks ever since Generation 6. So that's about a decade now. What is your favorite battle gimmick?
Mega Evolution, because I'm a basic person.
Yeah. You like Kalos, though.
I do, yeah.
Cool.
I'm also a big Kalos fan.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Mega started
That's it?
off.
Favorite Pokemon is Lucario, so, it's gotta be Mega.
Yeah,
Mega
true.
Lucario or regular Lucario? I think you've answered this before.
Okay, so it would be Mega Lucario, but I forced it to be Lucario because Mega Lucario isn't available except for in 2 games. So
That's valid.
Fair enough.
I don't even think I was a fan of Mega Scizor. It was too square.
Oh yeah, I think
Yeah, it
everyone,
wasn't great.
a lot of people think that regular Scizor is better.
Yeah,
I am
it's
one
just
of
It
it's
definitely
a
is.
smooth design.
What was
about
your
you,
Soul?
My favorite. Oh man, I am so split on all of them, to be honest. I don't know if I really have a favorite. Mega Evolution is my favorite because the designs are different enough that it feels like a whole new evolution. It's probably my biggest thing. But competitively, Terrastall is really good and really fun.
It's
I
very
think
true.
it's the best addition to the game, let's say, to actual
Absolutely
gameplay.
is. It is the best. It's funny if I wasn't a big Kalos nerd and if I wasn't a big Lucario nerd, I would have probably said Terrastall just because it's the most unpredictable. I think Dynamax was the most predictable one. You always had, everybody was bringing by the last Worlds, everyone's teams were identical save for 2 Pokemon. So Terrastall most splits it up and diversifies it, I think.
We've really only had 2 battle gimmicks that have changed a Pokemon's form and where we've gotten actually official art. That's Megas, as we've said, and also Gigantamax. I think Gigantamax is pretty cool. I don't think it's nearly as cool because it feels like it could only really exist in Galar, which is canonically true, but also it feels more like a projection of a Pokemon rather than the actual Pokemon, which I think the charm of Pokemon is a creature you can actually interact with. When Gigantamax was introduced, I always imagined the monsters from Yu-Gi-Oh, right? It's you have cards in your deck and they only really exist and you only get really interact with them in the overworld when they're being projected in this in a specific location, right, in the TV show at least. So yeah, I think Mega is a very clear winner. Dynamax and Gigantamax is cool. I like Terra. I like how Pokemon can get new types. We would love to hear what you guys think in the comments, so definitely let us know. But to move on to our topic today, fusion Pokemon, right? This is something, like I said, that we've seen ever since Pokemon Red and Blue. It's kind of a weird phenomenon. It was always something that existed, but never was touched on, and I think has also fueled a lot of questions, a lot of Pokemon theories over the years. I want to start just by defining, at least in our world, what is fusion? What does it mean? The one I'm looking at, a union by or as if by melting. So obviously something coming together, right? A merging of diverse, distinct, or separate elements into a unified whole. It's also something that we got to look at is define evolution in the Pokemon universe, right? If fusion does exist, if fusion is introduced as an official battle mechanic, right, I think it would be essentially another form of evolution. I understand evolution as where a Pokemon is introduced to something within its environment, whether it's an object like a stone, or if it's a certain amount of experience that it gains, or something actually environmental based, regional forms, right? Or if it's a specific habitat that it lives within. And I think also it would also be if the Pokemon is introduced to another species of Pokemon, those Pokemon would then interact be coming together. And I think this could happen two ways. I want to get your guys' thoughts. But it could happen two ways where these Pokemon actually come together into one Pokemon, or how we've seen it and how we'll talk about later, where two Pokemon are near each other and that causes evolution for one of the Pokemon. I don't really know if that's totally fusion, but I feel like if fusion is actually going to exist, it needs to be comprised of two Pokemon coming together, and you have one party slot now with that one Pokemon. But I don't know. There's a lot there. What do you guys think about Pokemon Fusion in general?
I think that I know I just said that my favorite gimmick is Mega Evolution and call myself out as a basic person, but I think Fusion for a Pokemon gimmick I think the way they've done it so far, like with things like legendary Pokemon like Kyurem and Necrozma and Calyrex, even though to me that is not like I know it is technically in functionality of fusion, but in design it isn't. It's just Calyrex sitting on a Pokemon.
Yeah.
But I would not like for it to be a gimmick. Personally,
Okay, that's fair.
I think it's a little too. See, it's funny. I don't know other monster franchises, but I know other monster franchises have done this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's too basic. I feel like I like that Pokemon has thought outside of the box. At least in my opinion, they've thought outside of the box on a lot of their gimmicks, and I think that Fusion is just kind of like, to me, like, oh, they're running out of ideas for gimmicks.
No way. This would be the most experimental thing that they would possibly do. I think, I'm not even trying to berate you, but I don't think it's simple, because I think it'd be very complex with how they would have to actually, I guess there are different ways to do it. I do think Calyrex and its fusion forms are pretty basic, but a lot of designs could also look like, how Necrozma looks right here. What do you think, Soul?
I mean, definitely opposed to Lumi here. I think fusions would be awesome. I understand what you're saying with like it being basic, but that's not reason for them to not do it. You just said you like Lucario.
No,
it's the same. It's the same kind of thing,
We're all basic. You like Lugia, I like Scizor, or a bunch of babies.
Yeah. It sells. That's the main point, exactly. Is that I think that fans have wanted fusion forever. Like the amount of Fakemon fusions, it's a whole like genre. I think that one day, I don't know when it will be. I don't think it will be Gen 10, but one day eventually they will do it, like proper. Because the state of it now, it exists as like our topic is today. Like Pokemon Fusion, I was just talking to someone about it today. It's something completely different. It's like Pokemon Fusion with quotation marks around it. It's not exactly a fusion like that we imagine in our minds, and it would have to be more like Terrastyle even. Like they took making a Pokemon have 3 types. In our minds, that sounds impossible, but they made it work somehow. I feel like that would be the similar kind of thing going on here.
I mean, I guess, but like, I don't know, it like Pokemon with 3 types that's existed for a while, like because of moves like Soak, Trick or Treat.
Like this though, that's like
the other
we
one
have fusion right now too.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I like the fusion. I like it being preserved to select Pokemon the way it is. I would not want them to make it full blown and start doing it with like, oh, fuse your Charizard and your Blastoise and fuse your Pikachu and your Meowth and all this. But I will say, I guess it's kind of similar. I would want like fusion moves, and I know that we kind of have a version of that with like Fire Pledge and Grass Pledge and Water Pledge, but I would say like an expanded version of that where say it has to be certain Pokemon using certain moves. So like for example, Gallade using Psycho Cut with Gardevoir using Moonblast will do a move that is both Psychic and Fairy type and will lower both opponents' speed. That's like, I don't know the logistics of that. It's just kind of me just spitballing a random idea.
Yeah.
I would like fusion in that sense, but I would not like fusion as in like, mid-battle, I, hit my fusion ring, if you will, and then they, just my Gardevoir and Gallade just which, we have Iron Valiant anyway, so why do we need that for
Already
those two?
exists.
Those are, when I just think of two Pokemon that are like super related and like are a combo, those are always the first two that come to my head.
Yeah.
But you get the point.
So this is yeah.
I have to push back a little bit because, well, I just poke fun more than anything. I
Of course
guess.
you do.
Yeah, no, because that comes from a competitive standpoint, I think, from you.
Probably.
There are competitive people out there that like to do competitive. I would love to learn. I just am not one yet. That does not seem appealing to me at all. Like we already had like a move based gimmick, and you will notice that we did not even mention it in our first question of the day thing here of what our favorite gimmicks are, and that's Z moves. And I don't think that
think
they'll ever
it's
do
hilarious.
Z moves.
It's underrated. Z moves are better than people give it credit for.
So
Soul,
boring.
one of
It's
your
so
favorite
awful.
Pokemon, Soul, is irrelevant without a Z move.
Yeah, well, they connected that, not me. I mean, that's the only positive to Z moves I can see pretty much. Okay, I'm
No,
I'm
no,
hating
that-
on it.
that
I'm
is-
hating on it way too much.
that
though.
is a good
I
point,
do like
though.
some things, like the spectacle. Don't get me wrong, but it
No,
wasn't
that
all
that totally clarifies to me why Z moves were not successful. Is because it's only relevant when you're in battle, and there are so many people. There actually, I would say the
So
majority.
are all the gimmicks.
Yeah.
Yes, but you can make plushies of the megas. You can make, there's official art for the Gigantamaxes, right? Even Dynamax, you can imagine in your mind, it's just a big Pokemon with a little thing around its head. And now you have all these new, like they're literally making cards.
Are we gonna
Jeez.
get plushies of Terrastals? Like, are we gonna get like a Sprigatito
Yes.
plushie that has
Well,
a flower coming out of its head?
I think you are, because the new round of Pokemon cards came out, and there's like a Gyarados card that has the water spout on it. So
That's because that's the gimmick in the cards too. Just like V and VMAX was the Dynamax gimmick incorporated into the cards.
yeah. No, but I'm not even saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying, like, I think that's why Z moves weren't as successful as maybe they thought it would be. And it's because you can only enjoy it in one way. Where the majority of the money and where people enjoy Pokemon, it's not necessarily just in battle. It's not it right. It could be the rest of the game, but it could also be the rest of the franchise. And I think it's difficult to. Anyways, yeah, I'm realizing that now. I'm not saying it's good or bad. We can get back on track, but I also am just noticing right now, Calyrex. I'm looking at this art side by side, and Calyrex. Actually, I like this fusion now because I think what it is it's Calyrex using mind control on the animals. Right, both of these
Because
horses.
its bulb is glowing.
Yeah, I never noticed that, and I've never liked it because it seemed that is
That
kind of
makes
cool,
me
right?
like it a little bit more too.
It keeps the
say
psychic type, right? It keeps the psychic type. It hides behind the horse, gaining the horse's power. I think that's really cool.
I still don't understand the blue Dynamax though. So
Yeah.
I'm still
It's a
not on
mystery
board.
for all time. I love that.
Still not on board.
I hope that they explain it one day, but they probably won't. But I
They
like
never
that it's
will
different.
explain that ever.
Do like that it's different. With Calyrex though, like yeah, those are like not even fusions to me. They are technically. That little glow up on his head is not gonna do it enough for me.
Yeah, it still doesn't do
The
it.
cape
It
gets
makes
bigger.
me like Calyrex more. It does not make me like the Calyrex forms more.
Yeah,
And
I would-
again, like I said, they're not, to me, they don't feel like true fusion. If in the anime, Ash has, done a double battle where he had his Pikachu ride on a Swellow. So in that moment, was that a Pikachu Swellow fusion? Because
I think
because
this
of
is a fusion.
I think anime has its own crazy canon
Yeah,
that makes
obviously.
absolutely no
I'm
sense.
joshing a little bit.
Yeah.
But just to illustrate how ridiculous calling this a fusion is.
So this is not how it works in the games, right? Again, anime and the games have their own. There's different lore for each of them, but I think what we really need to bring it back to is Slowbro and Slowking, right? That's from Generation 1, where the lore there is that Shelder bites Slowpoke's tail or head, and depending on which one it bites, the Pokemon evolves differently. But essentially, we always see what that Shelder becomes. It's almost as if the Shelder evolves and the Slowpoke evolves. I think we spoke on another episode how this actually would tie closer to a phenomenon. I think it's called like symbiotic evolution or something. So maybe you could classify it as that. but I really think, to me, that is a very clear example of a fusion Pokemon, right? Maybe not functionally in the game, but like even look at Mega Slow Bro, right? That is fusion. They've come together to create something greater.
That is absolutely.
It's crazy.
And I would say it's also fusion because the Shelder has evolved too, not just the Slowpoke.
Yeah,
True.
Yeah.
So it's crazy because this is, I mean, it segues into a whole other topic, but it's also crazy that this is technically like the first fusion, I think. The first Pokemon, in quotations, fusion is this guy. If you look back, going into like kind of beta cut Pokemon stuff, that thing on Slowbro's tail was supposed to be a Pokemon. So, you know, it wasn't just a Shelder. It may have evolved from a Shelder and become that. So like, because the Dex says, you know, Shelder chomped onto a Slowpoke's tail, then they both would have evolved, and the Shelder would have become that thing, and Slowpoke becomes Slowbro, and they are a fusion, basically, Pokemon, which is really cool.
I would love to see more things like this, and even if they aren't necessarily, because Lumia, you bring up a good point where it's like, what are you gonna do? Like your watch projects a new, or like you throw another Pokemon at your Pokemon to then temporarily fuse. I think mechanically it is weird. I think, you know, I say it's gonna be a new battle gimmick, but I think it might actually be closer to these regional fakes that we're starting to see. Right, it might be closer to like Paradox Pokemon or even just regional forms.
And it'd certainly have to be like Megas, where it's like, you know, not every Pokemon, like every Pokemon can use a Z-move, every Pokemon can Terrestrialize, every Pokemon can Dynamax, but then with Z-moves and Dynamax, there is specific Pokemon that get a special Z-move, or specific Pokemon that get a unique Gigantamax form. But like with Mega Evolution, it was just for unique Pokemon. Like, it was just specific Pokemon. I would think that Fusion would have to do that, because they're not going to make models for me to fuse a Slowking with all the other Pokemon.
Yeah, it's going to be very specific. I totally agree with that. And
not now. We're at like 1,000. There's just no way that they would ever be able to do that. No. You know, that's too big of a scale.
And that's fine. I mean, so I think what they could do, what they did with Megas and Gigantamax, where it is a limited amount, and also there's not even a real theory, but just a pattern that we've just kind of like observed. I'm not even gonna say agree with, just like observed, and that's like right now we're in a period where there is a battle mechanic where there's not actually like physical change upon the Pokemon. We're not getting like new forms. They're just like, it's like an add-on that a Pokemon gets when they terrestrialize. Maybe the next generation is going to be a new generation where something like this can happen, where you actually see that we're like the pool of Pokemon who can actually use this fusion or whatever it's going to be called. That pool of Pokemon is going to be a lot smaller.
Question is, do they they did it that way? There's just like a group of Pokemon that can fuse together. And is there another part of the gimmick that every Pokemon could use, and what would that be like? Maybe more like the moves thing that Lumi was talking about. You know, maybe something like that. Or
I like that, yeah.
Just give each other
maybe a new ability.
Like cheering or something, like they boost the other Pokemon. Something like that.
I think that's a good point.
And see, that's another reason that, like, I had said the whole moves thing. Like, because one, I do think it's more practical. You can program select moves to just merge together, like Hydro Pump and Flamethrower from any mon can merge together. However, a Hydro Pump from a Blastoise and a Flamethrower from a Charizard can not only merge together, but will get a special effect that a Hydro Pump from a Golduck and a Flamethrower from a Torkoal won't do. And then I would also say, to me, it's kind of a dream because, again, I am a fan of the anime, and I see, like, they do cool combinations in the anime like that. Like, they'll, you know, like, Pikachu use Thunderbolt, and, you know, you use Leaf Storm, and it combines and becomes this crazy cool move that, like, does, you know, like, that's what I think of, and I'm like, I would like that to exist in a Pokemon game.
All right, so I'm imagining you guys were talking about, like, we were joking about, like, a watch. It's always a watch.
Always is, yeah.
What if you're
of some kind.
Yeah, so what if, like, our watch also has Pokedex data, right? And you basically program it to be like, let's say Shelder, right? Let's say Shelder is the Pokemon that I chose in my watch. So when I'm in battle and I have Charizard and I use the Shelder power, let's just call it
So it's Ben 10.
Yeah, maybe, right? I
It's
use
been
Shelter
10.
power, and so
Shelter.
Charizard... Yeah. Shelter does not have a connection, a biological connection with Shelter. So Charizard would merely... maybe all of its... I don't know, maybe it gets like a defensive buff. That's all it gets from a Shelter or a Cloyster. It just
Love
gets a
it.
defensive buff.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we can mess around with stats. I don't think a form has really messed around with stats too
You
much.
could incorporate the
But-
new thing that they've introduced in Scarlet and Violet with like the Pokemon material. You can incorporate
Yeah,
that into
that's
it. Like you
cool,
have
yeah.
to use that to get the Shelter DNA to.
Okay. I like that. Yeah. Let's go with that. So then when Slowbro is out on the Slowpoke, or I guess Slowbro or whatever else, you would use the Shelter, and then maybe then there's a temporary evolution that happens, and it's spiritual. That I could actually see that happening. What I'm saying is like that lines up with the other things that they've been doing, and all of a sudden it doesn't seem that abstract. So
Like, what are the ones with that, or with any kind of fusion? What are the ones that y'all would want to see? Like, what are the mons that come to your mind as like they would be a good pair?
do you have any idea, Soul?
Oh no, not off the top of my head, to be honest.
Pikachu and Eevee is an obvious one.
Yeah.
You know, the Pokemon Company would totally do that.
There's the shill ones. There's the ones that are just like
Yeah.
Charizard's gonna have 5 forms.
I wonder if it would
Charizard will be able to go with Blastoise, and it'll be able to go with Venusaur, but they won't let Blastoise
Yup.
and Venusaur connect because they're always unfair.
That's funny.
Yeah, perfect.
So I think what comes to mind for me is maybe not as imaginative, but it's something that like I think makes more sense and is probably more in line with Calyrex, and that's like any sort of horse Pokemon. Any Goat is a goat, not a horse, but like any Pokemon that like can be ridden, right? And then you just put a humanoid character on it, right? You have like
Scarlet riding a Go-Goat.
Exactly, right? Like that makes sense, but probably isn't going to be the fusion that they're actually going to go for. I think.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. And then
I
so
do
It would be
think-
cool in some sense, but it's also like
They're
you
gonna
got
be-
another Calyrex thing going on.
yeah, and there
For
probably
me-
would be some of those, but yeah. So
I'd like to see any like split evolutions paired up, like Scizor and Cleavor fusion would
Oh,
be really
yeah.
cool.
that's nice.
Ceruledge and Armarouge, Gallade and Gardevoir we kind of already have with Iron Valiant, but I'll throw
Yeah.
them in there just in case. Blossom and Vileplume, Politoed and Poliwrath, any of those split evolutions, I think it would be really cool to have emerge. Umbreon and Espeon, those are kind of more counterparts.
Sure.
They could do one like for each
was
of
gonna
the
say,
Eevees,
like,
though.
I was gonna say, like, what about like rivalry ones? Like, I don't know if you guys saw that
Yes.
one fan art of Survivor and
Oh yes,
name?
I love that.
Yes.
That's
Zangoose.
cool.
Yeah, put together, like that'd be incredible.
Yeah, what are some other like big rivalries? I mean, you could do like I think they're
Solrock
rivals,
and
Mandibuzz
Lunatone.
and Braviary.
Yep, I
Yeah.
can see that. Yep, Braviary all of a sudden has like skulls on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, that's like I got a good visual of that. That's pretty
Cool, a cool lore one would be Marowak and Kangaskhan.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
That would be insane.
So
And you see now, Lumi, are you still against it though? Because these ideas are like fire. I mean, I would love to see a
I am
Kangaskhan and
okay. See,
Marowak.
but that's my thing. That's my thing. I think, no offense to Game Freak. I mean, I'm a Pokemon fan, so obviously I love Game Freak. They give me Pokemon games, and that's my favorite thing in the world. So, no hate to them, but the ideas that you, me, and Dusty are coming up with are good. I think that Game Freak, it would be a bunch of Pikachu and Eevee, Charizard and Blastoise,
I think there would be-
Meowth
yeah.
and Ekans. You
Yeah,
know,
the-
I mean,
the
it-
ones-
No.
the ones that I go back to, I think I'm like, okay, they gave Snorlax a Gigantamax where it just falls asleep and then like all this fauna grows on it because it's been asleep for so long. That's funny, right? Or Garbodor is also funny. I can see a Snorlax where it's like take any food Pokemon and Snorlax is eating it, and then but they almost like Snorlax becomes like a gingerbread man because he's eating Fido or something. Like I can see really stupid ones like that.
See, but see
That
again,
fits totally, though.
that
That's-
sounds good to me. That actually sounds like it's a different kind of good.
Yeah. But
you would love it no matter
They
what.
gotta have different. They've gotta have different ones. They've gotta have your more cutesy ones like Snorlax being a
Yeah.
gingerbread man, and then they gotta have your more like metal ones like
Yeah.
Ceruledge and Armarouge. But I don't think they do that. I think they would do the super boring ones. Like I mean, I think it would be like their Gigantamax picks to me were in large, so not, without exception, they were in large boring.
Yeah.
Where was my Gigantamax Dragapult that was like a helicarrier with just tons of Dreepies shooting off of it? Oh, instead, I got Gigantamax Hatterene, which is just Hatterene, but
Bigger.
bigger.
Which I like Hatterene, but like that's not even fun.
Right.
It's funny that you bring that up because I was going to say that on our question of the day. Like, I actually like Gigantamax designs more than Megas, even though I chose Megas as the best gimmick. I feel like the designs of Gigantamax Pokemon were better. The picks, I understand what you're saying with the picks of them. Like,
Get out of here.
but that's Game Freak. Even the picks of the Paradox Pokemon. Think
Kinda
about
weird.
that. It's like, we're doing Jigglypuff and Mischievous, like, or Delibird. It is what it is. They pick random ones.
Find me one Gigantamax form that's cooler looking than Mega Charizard.
Machamp.
Frankly.
Machamp is so cool.
No, that's
Gigantamax
nothing on
Machamp
Mega
is so cool.
Charizard.
It's cool, but I
nothing
think the
on Mega
Charizards
Charizard.
win that one.
What about I'm going on the list. I do like Corviknight a lot. It really just opens
Corviknight
wings.
is awesome.
But I like the little like drones that it has. I think Orbeetle. So probably what you're thinking is like the thing that makes these Gigantamax forms so cool is that the designs add in like take whatever concept was present in the original Pokemon and then like it stretches it out to like its most logical conclusion. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, like Dreadnought. But some, I don't know. Yeah, I guess there are some that
You know
are
what
really
I would
cool.
love to
That's
see?
kinda
I
lame.
would, to kind of steer us back to Fusion too. One thing I would love to see is because these Pokemon already kind of fuse, Tatsugiri and Dondozo fusion.
Right? Like,
Or
we
like
didn't even have that on our
Dondozo's-
list.
Tatsugiri is like sitting on top of his head, in that little circle part,
Yeah.
and is like just pointing out, like telling it charge.
I like that a
Oh my
lot.
gosh. So that's
So,
a weird fusion though to me. Like, not to cut
Is.
you off, but like when you think of fusion, maybe both of you, when I think of fusion, I'm like it's one entity as two as one, not like
Yeah, it's like
part of
it's
it.
like Necrozma or Kyurem.
It's not really like what you just said, which
Right.
is more like Calyrex to me, to be
It's like
honest.
Yes.
teamwork,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I
I'd agree
think
with
the
that.
thing with Calyrex is like it's mind control, and then that actually explains why those two horse Pokemon feel so incomplete because they are like
Yeah.
a husk. They're not.
They
They're
are.
like almost like revived from the dead, right? It's like they're two horses. One's frozen, one's just dead. It's like one's frozen, one's the frozen corpse, one is the spirit of the dead horse.
It's very
I think
true.
that's actually might be the
love-
lore.
If you could do you could merge all the Reggies into Regigigas,
Yeah.
and it would kind of awaken it and get rid of Slow Start and give it some broken ability.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, like the original Regigigas where it's like, yeah, where it's like it actually has all the elemental powers, the eyes, the
head
colored
of Rage. There
eyes.
you go.
Yeah. So,
They're all glowing. He has them down his arms and everything. That'd be cool.
so you guys are thinking about fusion in a way that doesn't feel right for me. Like you guys are thinking of fusion as like two things coming together and it's just like it's a being. Like two cats are now a different cat. And that's how we see it in a lot of different forms of media. I still feel like to keep it grounded, these Pokemon, I don't know. I feel like these Pokemon would have to be more, these fusion Pokemon forms would have to be more like symbiotic, still together, but still symbiotic. Like if I look at this,
You're thinking like a Calyrex type thing?
I think Calyrex is like really uninspired. Like I feel like it would have been cooler if the dead horses or just were what they are, but then like as they fuse, then they like almost become, they just have like a different look to them. But that looks a little too regular. I think something I think of is like we look at Mega Sableye, right? Sableye loves rocks. What if Sableye can now fuse with like certain mineral Pokemon like Garganacl, right? But like
Have to be Carbink. You
like
gotta do
Sableye is inside of this, like, yeah, or Carbink, yeah, exactly. But imagine like Sableye is inside of the salt, the Garganacl. Sableye is like controlling the Garganacl, like
think
something
that-
like that.
I think that they would do a mix of both, to be honest. I think they would do literally what you're saying, Dusty, and like full on, like two cats are now one cat
Yeah.
kind of thing.
It probably
Really think-
would be a mix of both. You're right.
Yeah, they would do varied things because they like to stay creative and do stuff like that.
But again, like I'd be wanting like some, you know, Ceruledge Armor Rouge combinations, but I feel like instead they'd be giving me Plusle and Minun and Volbeat and Nillimise. So it's not that I think Fusion can be an uninspired gimmick. It's that I think that Game Freak would make it an uninspired gimmick.
The thing
Yeah.
is, though, that would be for any gimmick, though, if that's what you're saying. Like, there's no difference in any other gimmick.
And that happens to be true. That happens to be true. I love some of the Mega Evolutions, but, you know, some of their picks, man, like, Garchomp didn't need that. In fact, most people will tell you that, or not most, but a lot of people will tell you that Garchomp's actually better without the Mega.
Yep, I've heard
Definitely
that. I think Megas and Gen 6 was like a whole new era, right? That generation, like the fan base exploded during that time. They were trying new things. First time on 3D. I think Megas and Z moves were both failures because Megas had too much of a focus on the most popular Pokemon. The evolutions were also kind of like the designs were kind of uninspired, and I think it was also like a little like egregious. It was like, or like what's the word, like just like too indulgent. Like it's like, let's take the best Pokemon and make them literally the best Pokemon. And then Z moves, I just think were underwhelming. The last two gimmicks we got, I think are totally strong, and I think will be things that we're going to want to go back to for a long time. So I think a lot of the flaws of battle gimmicks are you'll see in Gen 7 and Gen 6.
Give me a Houndstone and Chandelure fusion.
Yeah, see, that's cool. But yeah,
That would be
yeah,
neat.
I like that. And I know, and then any sort of like sword, like we have a sword Pokemon, right? Honedge, that any humanoid Pokemon could wield that. I think that'd be the coolest thing in the whole entire world.
I mean, but like, where does humanoid stop? Can I have like a Mr. Rhyme just charging at me with like an Aegislash?
I could see like
Makes
what's a Pokemon
sense.
that would want to wield it? Like I could see Berserker wielding it, right? Or there's so many food Pokemon. I'm just imagining Snorlax eating all of them. Or how about we have Orbeetle and Miltank.
See, they would do stuff like that, and then I'm telling you, they would have exactly that kind of thing, especially Aegislash and like somebody wielding Aegislash. That's a fusion technically, and then they would also have like straight up Kyurem fusion kind of thing.
So yeah, what do you guys think about because we also have literally raw fusions, but with the Galar fossils, right? Those Pokemon are literally 1-for-1 fusions. It's like
But
half of
the
this,
thing
half
that
of this.
thing that's bad about that though is what did everybody do when they saw those? They started wondering where the original forms were.
Yeah.
So those were cool fusions, but they screwed it up by not giving us the originals.
Yeah, I would say actually they would be bad. I think they would be bad designs if we actually had the original, and they're bad on purpose, right? I think if they actually gave us the originals, people would be like, "Why would I ever use the fusions?" Right? Because they're that.
Because have you seen a
True,
Dracovish
true.
battle? Have you seen a Dracovish battle?
Sure. But I don't consider battle. But you're right. Yeah, I get you.
But you're right too, Dusty. He's right. Like, if we had like the actual real forms of them, people would be like, "Oh, the fusions are so gross."
Which
I mean,
people
a lot-
said that.
Yes, but people love the gross. I mean, that's like, you have Pokemon that are purposefully gross. Just like, I mean, look, they've got
always gonna be
Rellor
somebody.
in a game now. They've got
Yeah.
Rellor.
I don't want to talk
I
about
mean,
it.
Dracovish is not going to go anywhere no matter what they do. And especially now, because you're looking at hindsight. Dracovish is already a Pokemon that's won the hearts of many. I don't know if, you can see it on, like, the layout that we have, but I have a Dracovish plush behind me. I know SB Juju, our good friend, Dracovish is, like, his favorite Gen 8 Pokemon. People are genuinely in love with those designs now, so if you give us the full versions, it's not going to make us,
But yeah, now for sure.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. So why didn't they give it to us in Crown Tundra DLC? That was the perfect time.
It's the whole tangent, but basically it's what their purpose always was. We're
I hate
never
that.
meant to be.
I hate
We're never meant to be like fully fleshed out. They were always just meant to be this mix. Yeah,
I hate
please.
that.
Very off topic.
So I think we can, as far as Pokemon that may or may not be fusions already. Like I think there's 4 categories we could break these Pokemon into. First one is straight up fusions. These are typically legendary Pokemon, like we've said, Calyrex, right? Then there's also like Pokemon that are like kind of questionably fusions, like they have some sort of interaction with another object, potentially another Pokemon. And I think, yeah, I think that's a whole category itself. Then we have the classic Weezing, Dugtrio, Magneton, Doublade, right? Scovillain. These Pokemon are the 2 to 3 head Pokemon. I don't think these are actually fusions. We'll
Hey,
get into that.
I would say like Dugtrio, sure, because that's 3 Diglets. But like with Scovillain, it's not like that's 2 Capsikids. You know, like it's like saying Hydreigons.
Yeah, but then that's fair. And then so that would be like, yeah, but the question there is like, is there a single sentience or are there multiple sentience right there?
Yeah.
And then I would say the
There are
fourth
multiple
category.
sentients, but I don't think that necessarily means fusion.
Yeah, I agree. These are just Pokemon like that are to be questioned, really, right? And then the fourth category is where there's multiple Pokemon in a Pokeball, or at least multiple Pokemon functioning as a single Pokemon, right? Things like
It's
Execute.
kind of like what you were saying before.
Yeah,
Your version of fusion is kind of like this, actually.
Yeah, and I think we see it, so it kind of makes sense. I do think I would want them to be more unified, right? I would want all the designs to be a little bit more unified. But anyways, so here, where do you guys want to start on this list?
I feel like we should start just by saying that from Gen 5 on, we had like fusions as legendary. So maybe like we start in the regular fusion category.
Okay, great. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like we had Kyurem was probably the most. This is
Yeah.
Pokemon fusion, right?
that was a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So-
Kyurem and Zekrom and Reshiram.
So it's
and...
the whole story of the original dragon, which we've never seen, and that would be sick. Okay, I'm just making this connection. Gen 10, they introduced fusion as the gimmick. Then they give us the Gen 5 Gen 5 remakes, and then that's how we can actually see the original.
Dragon, I think, would be
Somebody
better
run
in,
with that.
Gen
That's a
5
video.
Legends.
Yeah,
It's actually really good. That's a really
that'd
good
be perfect.
That
Yeah,
would be
but
perfect.
so the original dragon was split into 3 Pokemon. Originally 2 Pokemon, and then there was a husk left over of what the original dragon may have looked like, but it was hollow, empty, and has the ice type. So what happens is, Kyurem can now fuse with Zekrom, or Kyurem can fuse with Reshiram, and both of these make these really cool fusion Pokemon. Let's see if I can get some photos.
Kind of like a backwards
They make
fusion.
one really cool fusion Pokemon, then they make White Kyurem.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yep.
wait.
Wait, you don't like both? I think
Wait,
they're
which
both
one
so
don't
sick.
you like?
I don't like White Kyurem. I think that
Is
or
White
I
Kyurem the
don't-
one with
I
Reshiram?
don't hate it. That's Reshiram, yeah.
Oh, dude, of course we're opposites here, too. The other one is worse.
We never
the
agree
black
on
one.
anything, Soul.
Yeah, I know. The black
In
Kyurem
another
is worse.
lifetime, we're an old married couple because we don't agree on anything.
Oh, man.
They're both so cool. I think they're both dope. They like one is obviously more like powerful looking, where the other one's like way more like beautiful. But that is a through line between Reshiram and Zekrom, and also it's the whole point of the game. There's everything is like opposite. So yeah, I don't even think I don't know. I think both of the designs are beautiful.
I actually like regular Kyurem the best.
Kieran's so
weird.
cool.
What the heck?
No, Kieran's so cool. When you find it in the cave, anyways, we can't. We just talk about Kieran for another half hour, but
Yeah.
It's next episode. It's next episode. We just
Yeah,
talked about Kyurem for half an hour.
So you guys have here that in Gen 6 there is no fusion, like no fusion legendary. We wrote that down. But I propose to you that there was going to be a Pokemon Z. It was going to be a game at one point.
No, there
that
was going to
cut.
be an X2 and Y2, which is even more proof.
Yeah, there you go. So, if you look at Zygarde's perfect form, it has like
Yes.
mouths of snakes, and the snake mouths have like red inside and blue inside. Now, it's not like a fusion of them with Xerneas and Yveltal, but like
it makes you think.
it makes
I-
you think that maybe.
I think it probably would have been like maybe it could fuse powers from it, but I think Xerneas and Yveltal, they represent life and death, like birth and destruction, right? So as Zygarde is the peacekeeper in that sense, it's like it represents like mortality maybe, or just like, or maybe balance, right? Balance.
Yeah, it's supposed to be balance. It balances ecosystems.
And what is balance? Balance is it's both, right? I feel like that's what it is. So
I could just see it like maybe it's not pure fusion like what we're talking about, but like it absorbing them and becoming perfect
Well, you know
Zygarde,
what?
basically.
Maybe, Legends Arceus went back and said, hey, Giratina has an origin form. Let's give one to Dialga and Palkia. Maybe Legends Kalos or X and Y remakes will say, you know what? All these other legendaries got to fuse. Let's give a fusion to Eternatus. Or not Eternatus, Zygarde. But honestly, maybe Eternatus too. And Galar
awesome.
maybe give one to Eternatus, honestly. I mean,
That'd be awesome.
it was an accident, but that would be good.
I mean, if you think about it, like Eternatus, it literally turns into a hand. What does a hand wield? A sword or a shield? That's what I always thought of.
Ooh.
Be cool to see like all the rest of it. I have like this art idea in my mind to draw like the full body Eternatus, like a whole dragon, but that's just his hand.
Yeah.
It's like Eternamax.
That's sick.
So yeah, I'm gonna do it one day.
That's so cool. I love
With
that.
a sword and shield would be pretty freaking awesome too.
Do it, man. That you gotta make a video about that. So I think
because I was thinking, well, the issue is the hand is too big for the sword or the
It would
shield,
be
but he would
huge.
Dynamax. He would
Yeah.
Dynamax the sword and the shield.
because that's another thing. It's like you would think that the legendaries would get a Gigantamax form, right? Or a Turnamax. I don't even know what they're called. Not Calyrex. Zamazenta.
Gigantamax, you mean?
No, but I'm thinking like, what if they call it a Turnamax?
Yeah.
Because it like fuses, not even fuses, but just like it takes, maybe it like absorbs only when it's fighting Eternatus, and then it becomes Eternamax Zamazenta. I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
This is
Could be.
we've entered the headcanon. Nothing
Yeah.
that I'm referencing makes sense.
It's just like crazy. But
It's like if we're assuming this is real, which it's not, and this is real, which it's not, then this would be real, which it is. All right.
Should we keep going down the list before we
Yeah.
Yes,
go into
please.
So there's also, we mentioned Calyrex already. I think Calyrex is definitely like interesting, but maybe not the best representation of what we would want a fusion to actually look like. But I think Calyrex is cool, and I think if we get fusion in the future, it's definitely something that we will see, I think.
Can't forget my boy though. It's Ultra Necrozma and like all of the,
yes.
the Necrozma forms in between that. I actually don't love what is it, Duskmane and Dawn Wings? Is that what it's called?
I think that just like Calyrex, it's literally mind control. It's Necrozma stealing the power of both of these legendary beasts, right? It's literally like it's a parasite, right? And I feel like that was a through line with a lot of the Ultra Beasts, that they were all like fears based on fears that people have, or so. No, I think they're based off of like invasive species of some sort. Whether it's like like Xurkitree is electricity in wiring going through like an ecosystem, and like urbanization, and then anyways, so
It's really interesting actually, because none of these, even though they are like technically all the fusion that we have, none of them are pure fusions. Like even going back to the Gen 6 connection, it would be like absorbing. It's just not the same. Like this is like parasitic,
like design wise, the truest fusion we have would probably be like Iron Valiant.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's fusion by concept, but is it fusion by biology?
Technically within the
Unclear.
lore, yes. Not
The
really.
lore is rumored, so technically,
Yeah, I don't think the lore
You're right,
is real.
you're right.
I mean, but if it's a descendant, it is. It's an overtime fusion of those two species. Like it's more of like
Evolution
an evolutionary fusion than an actual, fusion like in the moment.
Lastly, you can go all the way to the DLC that we have the fusions of the legendary beast basically and
Ooh,
the
true.
Swords of Justice.
I did want to jump to this.
Jump to it.
This is
Pokemon fusion too. Yeah, that and Ash Greninja.
oh, okay.
It's like human and Pokemon.
Yeah, which
Yes.
is
Pokemon and Pokemon.
so bizarre to me because, again, we've been talking about Pokemon to Pokemon, but some of the most clear examples of fusion in Pokemon has actually been with humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish that was like, it is canon, obviously, but I wish that it
Yeah.
was like a Pokemon, that was a Pokemon that like even
Like maybe
Without
without
Lusamine.
The
Lusamine. Yeah,
Nihilego evolution.
yeah. Because if you look, like Nihilego actually changes completely. Lusamine even changes completely, right? She's been overcome. She's got this like dark hair now. Nihilego doesn't even. Oh, you know what it is? So Nihilego is like a bunch of. It's glass. It's like looking glass. So like it's like this refracting glass. I think of like a fun house where you have all these warped mirrors, right? Or maybe it's like glass that's showing someone's true identity, right? Showing what their actual intentions are, which is the whole story of Lusamine. So it's really cool to see. It's really, I think this is one of the
It's
coolest things. in
shaped
Pokemon.
like a hat with a veil. Like Nihilego
Yeah.
looks like you could put it on, you know.
It does, yeah. So I think this is so cool. Even I'll pull it up. Ash Greninja is also very. It can someone explain that actually to me? Because like
So-
it's been around forever, but like
Yeah.
to me, I'm
what
like
it
it's not.
is
Yeah.
in the anime, it's called the Bond phenomenon, and what it is like
James Bond.
Ash and Greninja have such a special connection that he is able to. It's a weird kind of fusion because it's not really fusion. Like Ash still exists when Greninja's in his Ash Greninja form. Like Greninja gets a huge power boost and gets features that make it look a little similar to Ash, the like black hair and the red cap, and then he gets a power boost, and then also in the anime, the neat thing about it is Ash actually feels what Greninja's feeling. Like it shows when Greninja's moving, like Ash will be standing like battling with him, and like if Greninja dodges something, it'll show Ash kind of like do like that and stuff.
That's
And
weird.
then-
So
He
that's
also,
another-
if Greninja takes damage, Ash takes damage.
so it's like a
Ash
mental
actually
bond.
gets hurt.
yeah.
It's like
That's
a,
really
yeah, it's more like a
spiritual fusion.
psychic fusion.
So that's to go back to Calyrex, right? That would be another form of it.
Filler.
You could eat. So maybe that's actually what fusion could look like in a future generation, where it's really like a mental connection. Where one
No,
of the
maybe
Where
that's
it's
why
parasitic.
they removed Ash Greninja. Maybe that's why they removed it in Scarlet and Violet. Is
Oh,
because they know the Gen 10 gimmick's going to be they're going to bring back Bomb Phenomenon, use it as fusion, and they're going to bring back Ash Greninja then.
God.
Who knows?
holy moly.
They do that kind of thing. I forget what it was, but they like got rid of oh maybe it wasn't Protean, but like stuff like that. They take it away and then it ends up
to
being
introduce
like,
it back.
yeah.
Maybe
The-
like
the one
maybe
thing-
like Megas.
Maybe. The one thing with Ash Greninja was related to Megas in a way, but it's like what we were talking about before is like kind of anime canon. It had nothing to do with the games. The only reason that Ash Greninja is a special thing that we got to have in the games is because of the Sun and Moon demo. Like so random, like just a special treat for us
Well,
that coincide with the anime. You know?
and the neat thing about that too, like, is for one, you mentioned that it was kind of related to Mega Evolution. I will touch on that. It gives off the same like energy Mega Evolution energy does. We know that because in the anime, Alon is like battling Mega Evolutions to collect Mega Evolution energy, and he gets like more energy from battling like Ash's Greninja than he does like any other Pokemon. Like he says that, and so every time he sees Ash, he's like, "Let's battle," and because he wants to collect that energy. But
Funny.
they also in the anime, there's a question of if it's been retconned or not too, because while it like is in the current opening, a flashback to it is in the current opening. Throughout the series, they did a flashback to it and like showed key moments, like it fighting Mega Charizard X, the final battle between Ash and Alon. When they did that flashback, they showed it as regular Greninja, not Ash Greninja, implying that and there were other scenes too, like a scene where Ash
they've
and
actually
Greninja are
retconned
shaking
it.
hand. Yeah, like
Yeah.
there's a
Then not.
scene where Ash and Ash Greninja are shaking hands. And they took that exact same scene and just recreated it with Ash Greninja as Greninja and did it in a flashback. But it is almost like there's a lot of debate I'm gonna be real. It looks to me like it's been retconned, and you have a bunch of anime fans that are heard about it and are saying, no, it's not
Yeah.
retconned. I refuse to believe it's been retconned. But it looks to me like they're wanting to retcon it, probably because the games are wanting to retcon it. So it's really just a question of why do the games want to retcon it?
It's like we lost it we had it in the games and we lost it because of the games. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's kind of sad in general. But you said that it's in the the actual opening for like this Ash 11 episode special like send off thing. Is that what it is? See, but that's crazy though. It's like stop confusing us.
Right. Well, what it was showing like the classic Ash battles. Like it shows Infernape with Blaze activated, like going in at Electivire, from the Ash versus Paul battle. And then the very next shot is Ash Greninja throwing the giant orange water shuriken. So it's all like, it's like his best, like his, not best battles in terms of like actual performance, but like what the fans deem some of the best battles. The fans deem his battle against Leon, which it also showed, Alon and Paul, like some of his best battles.
Right. Makes sense. Definitely.
So okay, so there's like
Kind of
all,
fusion.
yeah, there's so many fusions, and these are the fusions that like have been confirmed obviously by the Pokemon Company, the video games by Game Freak. I do want to dig deeper at some point about like what could cause fusion, because I'm starting to actually just through this conversation see the through line that it really is mental, right? It's not just like a physical combination, but it's really mental. Even going back to our first example with Slowbro, more specifically, actually no, with Slowbro too, right? Slowpoke is psychic, and they both basically like, I think it's like the poison. I think, yeah, so in the traditional one, it's like the psychic powers become clear, I think. Is that what it is? Shelter bites on Slowpoke, and then like the poison allows it to harness its psychic energy. And then like, so anyways, I think there's a psychic through line here. Even with Ash Greninja.
I think there is with all the gimmicks though, because like look at Mega Evolution. One thing they point about Mega Evolution is that even though it's technically not true in the games, you just need a Mega Stone.
Oh yeah.
They say you have to have a bond with the Pokemon. And Z-Moves is a little bit different. I don't know if they ever say you have to have a bond to do the Z-Move, but like with the Z-Move, for one, there's the dance. You can't just like water Z-Move. You have to do like the little pose for it. And then also like they even have like the scene.
It's that synchronicity with the trainer.
Yeah. Well, and I know like we've talked about like anime is different from the games, but since anime gave us our most thorough explanation of Ash Greninja, I feel like it's relevant here. Ash tells in just Journeys, he tells these people who are trying to perform a Z move with their Komo-O, he tells them like, no, you're doing it wrong. You have to get in like this headspace, and like he walks them through
fusion
it.
dance. So, yeah.
Like, so all that to say, like, I think every gimmick except for maybe Dynamax, and we don't know how the anime will portray Terrastal, but I mean they all seem to be, it has to be like a mental state as well as the other requirements that are needed.
I love that. Okay, so let's move on to some of the more questionable fusions. These are Pokemon that we've seen bonded together in some way, or it's two Pokemon that come into interaction with each other. Let's go down this list. Some of these actually we have already mentioned. So the ones that we have mentioned: Tatsugiri, Dondozo, Iron Valiant, Zygarde. Let's see what else. Slowbro, Slowking. That's the regular and the Galarian forms. And then so let's get into one that I think is really interesting: Carablast, Escavalier, Shelmet, and a Selgor. These two Pokemon, Carablast and Shelmet, can only evolve when you trade them with each other. Like, each trainer has to have one of these, and then you trade them together, and then these Pokemon basically, like, swap items from one another. And what do you guys think about this? Do you think
I would say that's more like, spoiler alert, I guess, like Mantike with the Remoraid. It's just, it needs the Remoraid to evolve. I think that That's Karrablast and Shelmet need each other, not because they're fusing by any ways, but because it's Karrablast taking something from the Shelmet.
So it's like
Well,
it's like a
it,
trade
like,
item.
needs-
Yeah,
needs
the
the trade
Shelmet
item.
is a metal coat.
That's cool. Okay, I can see
needs
that.
the item to evolve, and it evolves with the item. You know, like it's more like a fusion to the item.
Yes.
In a way, there's not really anything else like it in Pokemon in a sense. Like, I guess you could say Scissor and Steelix with the metal coat, but not exactly. You know,
Yeah.
they should
I
maybe
think, like,
expand on this more. In
The
future.
Shelmet doesn't get anything from the Karrablast. It's just a husk that's left, and that's what Shelmet is. But Karrablast gets some. So it's
Crazy little
I would
bug.
say that it's the reason they need each other is because Karrablast needs the shell to become a Scavalier because the Scavalier has the shell. But Shelmet needs Karrablast to rip off the shell so it can be the husk that is a Selgor.
That makes sense. And then,
The
so
Scav-
the other... yeah, what's up, Soul?
I'm like just having fun, but is the Scavalier a snail to you guys?
Scavalier. It's, yeah.
Even though they named it after a snail, it's not one. It's a beetle that has stolen
It's
a snail's shell.
Got that little
That's
round
like-
part.
But it has a little shell, right? So like, is its body in the shell though, like a snail?
It doesn't matter. It's a beetle. It's a beetle that took the shell.
Yeah, but...
You know what I mean?
Kind of crushing my dreams.
If a snail
But-
is in a shell, and a snail leaves that shell, and a hermit crab goes into that shell, is that hermit crab now a snail?
No. Remoraid evolves into an octopus. I think we have to throw any sort of human logic out of here.
All right, look, Remoraid evolves into an octopus is the fans' favorite way of saying, I don't have an argument for that. So here's something to just throw you off.
Well, it's a snail to me, okay? For the longest time, we didn't have like proper snail Pokemon, and that is the snail Pokemon.
That's great. So if you want that to be a snail, if you want Tandemouse to be a snail, you can live in that delusion.
He has a snail tail, basically, and that's good enough.
All right, so I think Karrablast and Shelmet actually, I think this evolution almost felt like a confirmation of another fan theory that goes back to Generation 1. There are 4 trade evolution Pokemon in Red, Blue, and Yellow, and Green, and the fan theory kind of goes that Graveler and Machoke. This isn't actually how it happens, but you can trade Graveler and Machoke with any Pokemon, and this happens. But the fan theory says that like Graveler and Machoke, if you were to trade them together, like Karrablast and Shelmet, Graveler loses a pair of arms when it evolves, but Machoke gains a pair of arms when it evolves. So I don't really think that's an actual fusion, but I like that concept.
I think that may have been the intention there, and they just couldn't program it like they could with Karrablast and Shelmet, where like it has to be each other because technology wasn't as advanced back then. It was their first game, all that. But probably Haunter and Kadabra were supposed to be one counterpart.
Sure.
And because they beat each other. The Ghost and Haunter beats the Psychic beats the Poison though.
Yeah.
And then Golem and Machamp were supposed to be one. And another thing too is to think about the fact that so Mantike needs a Remoraid to evolve.
Yep.
Slowpoke in terms of lore needs a Shelter to evolve, but it doesn't. It just evolves when it hits a certain level or is traded with the King's Rock. No. So I think it's just a lack of they had the program back then. But I think if Machop and
Conceptually.
Geodude were made in Gen 9, that is exactly what it would be.
Cool.
Love
I like
it.
that. Let's confirm it. I just noticed Machamp's Dynamax cloud is around its belt.
Yeah, they all are
Yeah.
in different places.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
And just
Anyways,
how-
I just learned that Mantike evolves with the Remoraid. I had no idea.
Did you not know that?
yeah, that's like a real thing. And then the other thing is like Pancham also can only evolve if there's dark type Pokemon in its party, which I've always rationalized that as like if it has bad influences around it,
Yeah,
it'll
that's how I
evolve.
saw it
what that
too.
is.
It
Into-
evolves into like a gangster.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but
The
the
kid
fact
that
that
evolved into a gangster.
yeah, but the fact that it needs, again, this isn't fusion, but it's Pokemon influencing Pokemon to evolve or change form in any way. And I think that's kind of
That would
interesting.
be what you said, the symbiosis thing. Like that's kind of what that is.
I think
There
I would
are
like
its
to see something
parents.
like that.
There are
So
its parents.
Yeah, right. I know. So like that's a Pokemon that where they could give it like a proper evolution, right? If it has fairy type Pokemon around it,
Oh, that'd be so cool. Yeah.
Right.
Then it could turn into something else.
Get the new Eevee.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
I think so. Another one is Paris and Parasect. Obviously, the mushroom on its back is not actually a Pokemon, but we do know there are a lot of mushroom Pokemon, and I also think it's kind of reminding me of Nihilego, right? With Lusamine, it's reminding me of Necrozma, Parasite, right? It's reminding me of that mind control thing. They say like
That's
Paris,
exactly what it is.
yeah, Paris used to be like really cute, and you had these little mushrooms on its backs. But when it evolves, it no longer has pupils, right? Just like real life, the mushroom has taken over the body.
It should have been Bug Ghost though. It should have been Bug
yeah.
Ghost. And Paris Bug Grass because it's still
I think that's another
alive and
Gen
everything.
1 thing. The Gen 1 thing. Because it should be.
Yeah. Bug Ghost.
Well, and
would be
Gen
so
1
cool.
only had the one ghost line, so they must have just wanted that to be special to Nestle. Because,
But so-
I mean, that was a really strong type. It had no weaknesses at the time except for itself, and it beat the Psychic type, which was really strong then.
Yep. Could you imagine a Gen 1 with a Parasect, a ghost, just destroying all the Psychic types?
Yeah.
Dude,
There's
honestly, like, we talk about, like, a Legends Johto game. I could totally see them doing, like, in Legends Johto, a Parasect evolution that, like, now it's a whole jungle of these mushrooms on its back, and it's Bug Ghost.
Yeah, that would be cool. An evolution or a regional form. Yeah, you
We
could
need
argue,
a new Bug Ghost type anyways. We only have Shedinja.
So it's almost like the evolution of Parasect wouldn't even have the eyes, right? Or its eyes would be like black or something, right? Like it would just like be so even further evolved to then have that ghost type. That'd
And
be
it
cool.
probably,
and it loses
like-
the grass.
Probably, how, like, it'd probably be decomposed a little. Like, it would be gray in color now. Not
yeah.
think like kind of like Annihilate.
Yep. Actually, it would lose the bug type because in the Pokemon universe, mushrooms are grass type, right? So-
Yes, but the bug is the thing that's dead.
Yes.
The mushroom's very much alive, and the idea is the mushroom's utilizing the corpse.
Yeah, so
So-
so it would no longer be bug type. The bug would be replaced with ghost, I think, because the bug dies.
I would say the grass would be replaced with ghost because the mushroom is utilizing the bug's body. So the mushroom has become the bug. That's the idea. It's taken over it. So it's become the bug.
Yeah,
Because the
that makes
body
sense.
is dead, it's the ghost type.
That's cool. So
Now, in fairness, though, I will admit I'm just trying to rationalize so we can get a bug ghost type and not
Yeah,
our
I know, I
50th grass ghost.
yeah, definitely. So I mean, do you guys think this is some sort of fusion? I mean, I guess obviously we know those little mushrooms are not sentient, so it's something has
If the
to be
mushrooms
sentient.
were. If the mushrooms were, then it would be. They're
Yeah.
not,
Yeah, I
unfortunately.
mean,
It's
and
interesting-
maybe
Yeah.
maybe they will make them one day sentient. I mean, that would be cool. I would love if they one day gave us like a grass dart mushroom that not brute bonnet, or even poison dark. I don't know, something that was like
That
it
would be
says
so
like it
sick.
tries to take a host. It's like wandering, trying to take a host. I would love that.
That would be so cool. That would be so cool. So then there's also I feel like that's most of the list right there. Actually, no, there's one more. There's one more really weird Pokemon, and I don't really think this is fusion, but it just stands out to me as such a unique evolutionary method. Similar to Paris, Nincada, the bug ground type Pokemon, when it reaches level 20, and you have a Pokeball, and you have a free slot in your party, Nincada evolves into Ninjask, and then a new Pokemon appears, and the Pokemon is Shedinja. This is very weird. And I found out last year, you actually do need a Pokeball. My friend, I gave him an extra shiny Nincada. He evolved it and only had Ultra Balls and didn't get his Shedinja, which was...
Is it like that now though? Because what game was that?
That was BDSP. Or,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So it's kind
Because
of
I could see them doing that like in Ruby and Sapphire. I'm surprised that's the case.
Yeah, I was too.
in the
I was
current
like,
games.
I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, no, I didn't say what are you doing to him. What are you doing? I'm like, how is this even a real thing?
Yeah.
I felt bad because
You just look at your friend. What are you doing?
yeah, because I had anyways so I had now have the whole shiny squad. It's anyways this
So
Pokemon is so weird.
Shedinja is a Pokemon that can only be in a Pokeball. It cannot be in any other Pokeball. That's pretty
Yep.
cool.
Yep. So obviously this is not fusion. It's kind of like the opposite somehow, right? It's kind of like how the original dragon becomes multiple dragons. So yeah, you actually had said, I heard you say it's like reverse fusion. So just something to take note of, that this is as early as 2003, right, in Generation 3. But okay, now the big question is these 2 to 3 headed Pokemon. Do you think these are fusions? They're not actually fusions, but
I'd say
there's
no. Like
Not
I
actually
said
fusions,
earlier,
but they are separate in a way.
yeah,
I'd say.
I would think that, fusion, just because there's multiple sentience doesn't necessarily mean it's a fusion. You know?
Yeah.
To be a fusion, it probably has to be two separate entities first that come together to be one. So, like, let's say maybe Execute could be, because they're all separate and then they become an Executor that has like
That's
multiple
cool.
heads. That's
Yeah.
kind of like a fusion evolution, let's say. I would count that one for like being really specific.
even
Or that, or like Diglett into Dugtrio, Magnemite into Magneton.
Yes
An
and no,
exa-
because Diglett is only one, so it kind of just grows more.
What
instead of
about
fusion.
Beldum too? Because like,
yeah,
I don't know if
that
you've
is
ever
the
noticed,
lore.
but like Metang is like 2 Beldums, and then
Guys,
the actual lore of it, yeah.
The through line here is that they're all psychic types. Executor is psychic, right? And we're saying that is, the other ones aren't. And so is Beldum. And I feel like I keep seeing the psychic type pop up. That's really bizarre.
See, but the thing that would break it, I'd say, is Alolan Executor's dragon.
Dragon.
Sure, it's dragon
is
type.
And it grows an extra head.
Kind of like
I-
Girafarig as one.
Yes, Girafarig,
Oh.
totally. Again,
I guess
But
more
again,
with,
would
like,
that be
beta.
that's multiple sentience, not but for Rigorath, oh man,
And
that's
that-
weird because they were
and it's all
always on the
psychic.
same body.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of like beta or cut stuff that I have in the back of my mind that makes me think of these things. We should do a topic on that one day. But like,
Mm.
it originally had like separate. It was like kind of like Wobbuffet and it were like
I was just gonna say,
two different
Wobbuffet
things.
has that
They
tail.
were like two things, but the same thing. So it's really confusing. They were just developed together, basically. It could have became like a fusion, kind of like Slowbro.
Why are these Pokemon all psychic type? There's a
With
theory
Wobbuffet,
here.
Wobbuffet's not. I don't think Wobbuffet's
The double-headed
a
one.
fusion. I don't think it's a fusion. I don't think the Wobbuffet like face is
Yeah.
the real Pokemon. I think the tail is the Pokemon. The other thing is like
They're
a
fake
shield.
eyes. The eyes that you see are fake eyes, essentially. It's probably still its mouth and its hands, but like, yeah.
I mean, honestly, maybe it's not its mouth and its hands, and it's just moving it through psychic powers. Because again, it's a psychic type.
Maybe.
Wobbuffet actually is a pretty cool design because it's like that's the shadow, right? People say that's like the shadow. Okay, and then we also have. So and then we also have multi Pokemon. These are Pokemon that act as one and sometimes even go into the same Pokeball, right? So these are not fusions, but these are again Pokemon that are acting together, together to battle, to interact. It's kind of bizarre when you think about it. I think again the first thing I think of is Executor. That's one of the first ones. There's a lot in Generation 1. But we also have Pokemon like which we mentioned, Mantine and Remoraid. In the Gen 2 sprite of Mantine, actually I think in all of the art, yeah, right here, you can see Remoraid in its official art. So this is some
It's
sort of
art, but not in its in-game sprite anymore.
Yes, not anymore. Yeah, but this is always how like Mantine was depicted, and it is interesting. The thing is here that they don't really change forms. I would say Mantike evolving into Mantine is very peculiar. That's literally how you have to evolve Mantike. You also have Wishy-Washy. This is again a Pokemon where it's like a swarm of fish, right? I think there definitely should be like a Combee evolution where it's like where it has the ability whatever Wishy-Washy has as an ability where
Cooling.
where like you have this massive bee that like is
That would
all
be
being
sick.
controlled by one.
Give
That'd
it
be
to
so
the
sick.
male.
Yeah, right.
So the male is
Wishy-Washy
no
is
longer worthless.
interesting. It's like,
What is
where
it?
did all the other fish come from with Wishy-Washy? It's just
Yeah.
hidden
I
fish
think-
are all around.
the way I interpreted it was like, one of the not gimmicks but like mechanics in that game was the SOS feature where they call for help. I kind of took it as like a reference to that because it calls for help and they all come in.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely what it is. They
And
just call
again
them for-
here, like Wishy-Washy, this like form, it actually looks like a new Pokemon. I think that's significant.
I mean, it's definitely to make the connection to like when a school of fish bundles up and becomes like protected from all other stuff. But it is like a sort of fusion of a bunch of fish.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say these are like flat, just straight up fusions.
Yeah.
But they're the things to think about. Another one that Lumi brought up was Cramorant. You really only control Cramorant as it is, but like in battle, it does use Pikachu or Barraskewda to battle, right? So this would go back to the attack, like the attack functionality of fusions, right? If that was the core of the battle mechanic, that could be an option.
These are kind of like Pokemon that are always with other Pokemon though too. So like Barraskewda is definitely with Cramorant always. So when you like send it out there it is. Same thing with other ones that we'll mention soon.
Yeah, Dragapult, Phalanx, even Skeledirge, which is a brand new Pokemon, always has that fire bird on its nose, which I think is said to be the ghost type. That is where it gets its ghost type.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So those
New
are two
lore.
Pokemon functioning together.
Mm-hmm.
And they amplify
Technically.
each other, right? They're both singing together when they use Torch Song.
Yeah.
Well, rather it says like the bird is influenced by the Skeledirge's singing.
Okay.
Is it a spirit of a Wattrel? What it is?
Maybe, yeah.
It's a
that's
spirit
so
of
sad.
an unseen Egyptian region Pokemon.
True.
True. All right, so obviously Tandemaus and Mousehold, Kangaskhan and its Mega. We didn't even mention that. That's like definitely an OG. Where does the baby come from, right? That's like one of the biggest questions. Execute, like I said. And then we have Revavroom, which the theory there is that Revavroom takes over Roly-Coly or Carkol, right? And that's what it uses as wheels. And then
Just
you also,
totally pure theory. Like there's nothing
total
to
theory.
that. Just
Total theory.
Yeah. There's nothing to
It's
that.
really
but
it's really just
it would make a
rocks.
lot of sense.
It's really people just wanting to make sense out of its existence because they hate the fact that it just has some rocks.
I would say the fifth category of what we're discussing today would really be Pokemon that hold items, right? It's like, why are you holding an item, right? Is this part of your design? You basically made it part of your design. Not even design, but like this is how you battle. This is how you interact with. I'm looking at like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like
Kamala. And then the theory with
there's a
Kamala,
lot.
Kamala's shiny doesn't change color. The log
Yeah.
changes color. So some people are like, so is Kamala
Yep. And
not
there's
the Pokemon and the log's the Pokemon?
And there's the mind control theme there as well. I feel like that's how it has to show up now. I'm just like convinced. The last Pokemon is Rellor or Rapska. They actually have, let me see if I can pull it up. They actually have like a little tiny baby bug inside of that dung. That's what they're doing. They're well, you obviously can't see it.
I interpreted
Rellor.
it as Rellor is building the nest and
Yeah.
Rabska has the baby. Like, I don't think Rellor has the baby yet.
You actually can't see it in this art.
Oh no, you can't. Yep.
Is it in the
I just made a circle. You can, if you look up like Rabska
It's on
No.
the Dex thing, like this
baby,
main Dex.
you can probably see it.
yeah, baby. Let's see. What
Is it the
images?
baby or is it Rabska?
Yeah,
question?
right.
I think it's
Oh,
the
like,
baby.
is it right
I
here?
think it's the baby. It has
think
the
it's
same
baby.
shape as
You guys see that?
Rellor's pattern.
There's like this little tiny like Burmy looking thing in the center, in the core of it.
See, but look at Rellor again.
Has his shape.
Yeah, it has a shape. The little pattern
Oh
on his body.
yeah, that's
Just
really
actually
cool.
shaped like poo.
Stop it.
It
We're gonna have to
is.
end the episode
You
now.
see it?
It's actually true. That's actually
I mean,
It
it
is.
is like the
wrong.
poo and milk.
That's
not
why it's
wrong.
upside down.
Yeah,
It's not wrong. Oh my
Wow.
god.
Dung.
I
beetle.
hate it.
Wow.
Holy cow!
I
didn't
never
even-
liked it, but you definitely made me like it less.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I think the lessons that we've learned today is that Rabska and Reller are the poop Pokemon, and then also that fusions, if they are ever integrated into like a Generation 10, Generation 11 battle gimmick down the line, I think there's definitely going to be there's going to be a through line of the psychic abilities, psychic energy, sharing abilities. I think, I don't know, if you guys like this, maybe we'll do another episode, but I think there are so many, I think this is like such a cool topic. I would love, it's such a cool, I think this is such a cool mechanic that could be introduced at some point. But
let us know in the comments if you hate this idea or if you would be like all on board.
Do you guys have any final thoughts about fusion Pokemon?
Not too
I
much.
still don't want
I
it.
want it. I want it. I literally said I want it at the same time. He said I don't want it.
Yeah,
I want it.
perfect.
I think it's like inevitable. I personally,
Agree.
the only thing that I can see coming next is this, or armor forms, or costumes, or clothing. I think that's
At
what
the
would be
end of the
coming next.
day, no one I don't think we can predict what will come next. I don't think we could have predicted Terrastal.
Oh,
No one exactly nailed what it was, even when we knew it was
Yeah.
something related to types.
I don't know what
Well,
it's gonna be, but
Yeah.
I think it'll be
Boy.
related to abilities. It'll be related to abilities because they did moves, they did the Pokemon's evolution, they did the type now, and they did kind of a mix of the Pokemon's evolution and the moves with Gigantamax. Now they're gonna do
I think that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
abilities.
What if they just did nothing? Just
I
gave
would
us
be
more
fine with
Pokemon.
that. I would be fine with that.
Come on, Soul. What do you mean?
Do nothing and bring
possible.
back Megas. Do nothing and bring back
And
Megas.
bring
in
back
podcast.
Megas. I mean, for Gen
No.
10, if we're really talking Gen 10, like it is possible that they do nothing and bring back older gimmicks for that specific gen, so that
Right.
all of them could be in there, kind of thing.
I like
oh,
that
that's
better.
kind of cool. Gen 10.
I like that
it-
better.
Oh, that's actually kind of cool because like the big selling point was like finally an open world Pokemon experience. The marketing for the next game would be like finally everything together.
Yep.
Although that would
all
open up
together.
that would open up the gates for national decks, right? Like all the Pokemon,
Oh.
all the battle mechanics, all together. Generation 10.
No, we talked about why that's like never happening. Like they can't do it.
Maybe
and
we
then
should do a
go
whole
back.
video on that. National
Yeah.
decks, like reevaluating it after all this
Yes, that'd be
time
great.
of having it cut.
I will say one more thing about Fusion is just that will they do like just Pokemon Fusion, or will it be, okay, this gimmick is Fusion with humans? Just that not
One or
not
the other
Pokemon.
or both.
Yeah,
what I'd
either
say.
either both together, or if they were specifically one or the other. How crazy would that be if we were like expecting Pokemon fusions, but we only got like you fuse with your trainer, something like that kind of thing.
That would feel
Really
like a
weird.
missed opportunity because like you're not getting that fusion design.
A lot of
Well,
times.
And my camera just cut out.
Oh wow,
Died.
it's just me here. Will I do
Just
the
you.
outro now?
Do the
Is that what
outro.
I'm supposed to
Do the
Okay.
outro.
Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell when we get to 1,000 subscribers. Soul over there is going to have to reveal his face, so that's going to be fun. Also, if you are on Spotify, leave us a review because that greatly helps. And until next week's episode, we will be seeing you guys. There's Dusty.
Dusty's back.
I'm back, guys.
Say
All
goodbye.
right. Have a great night, everyone. Have a good day, everyone. See ya.
Bye.
See you next time. Peace.